What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I have a very special interview with a friend of mine. We've actually ran into each other at a lot of events, or I think it was Podfest or no Podcast Movement.
Yep, podcast movement.
Okay, and but I see you everywhere, man. Like, also I see you generate a lot of results, which is awesome to see people in the industry who are like, there's a lot of charlatans out there and a lot of people saying things, but they actually don't really back it up. So it's cool. So I love sharing people like you to my audience and like so that they can get value out of it and learn and incorporate it into their life. So if you guys don't know Kimanzi, he's the author of 4 books, correct? You haven't?
Yep,
All
four
right.
books.
You have another one coming soon, or?
Yeah, you know what? I started another one, but it doesn't really align with kind of my messaging, so I put that on hold, and now I'm focused strictly on a content book.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
We can talk about that later if you want. He's also a world traveling corporate consultant, which is super interesting. I don't know if there's a lot of world traveling happening right now in your world.
not right now.
Yeah. And he's a writer for 30 large publications. Oh my God. I just got the funniest question, by the way.
Yeah.
Ask him how he eats those Kit Kats.
Oh.
Oh my God. We should have had you bring a Kit Kat, man.
Yeah, did you?
Actually, I'm going to pull up a photo just so people have some context.
Yeah.
We're cutting this out of the podcast. People are going to have very FOMO. But all right, let me go to your Facebook really quick. But yeah, you write for a lot of big corporate publications. I mean, if we named them, I'm sure everybody would know. But if you want to drop some,
Yeah, I've been published in Success magazine, Entrepreneur, online, and in the print edition, which is on newsstands. I actually have that framed in the house here. Business Insider, Forbes, Fast Company, any one that you can name. Like there's a lot. It's like 80 different publications and magazines that I've been published in, and I'm also an editor at a large publication. I'm a senior editor at the Good Men Project as well.
the Good Men Project.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that. Let me just share my screen real quick so I can give some people some comedy.
Yeah.
Share screen. Screen one. Why is there a black thing here? Wait. My screen just went black.
Uh-oh.
Half my screen is black. Wait. No, technical difficulties. Sorry. Yeah, you can see it, right? Half my screen is black. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it is. It is half black.
Okay. That's actually I just bought this computer. It was like $2,500, so it's not.
Is it a Mac?
No, man.
Oh.
Let's still look at your Kit Kats. So we got this bite. I don't know how you do that. Can you see that, by the way?
Yep.
I don't know how you.
It takes
that.
talent.
That. I feel like you've been getting some hate for this, man.
People, including my own wife, have not embraced the way that I eat Kit Kats. And
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Oh man. Thug
Yeah.
life. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the show here.
Can I tell you what that is? I mean, I like Kit Kats good enough. But one day I was eating one and I bit the whole thing, right? Like I bit them. And my stepdaughter was like, "What are you doing?" Like she was like legit triggered. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "That's not how you eat it." And my wife was like, "That's not how you eat it." So I'm like, "Let me ask social media." And social media just went nuts. So now I decided to stoke the fires a little bit. I'm a little bit of an instigator.
Nice. And it's good for engagement. This is so weird though, by the way, because like I see my taskbar, but like the screen's just black. I've never seen that.
Wow.
I'm just gonna ignore that for now. Cool. So can you give a quick introduction, kind of, to people, like, quickly why you're awesome and kind of what you do for a living?
Well, I mean, besides being incredibly
Besides the Kit
handsome,
Kat.
which you
And
can
handsome, sorry.
see here, like, I mean, duh. I started in the online space in 2011. I found Pat Flynn's podcast, like a lot of people, and heard about
Smart
this
passive income.
smart passive income and make money with the laptop. And at first I thought it was a scam, but as I listened more, like the dude was making sense. So I self-published a book at the end of 2011 that flopped. It sold 5 copies. It wasn't Amazon #1, but whoo-hoo, but it didn't really sell any copies. And from there, that got me curious, like, how do you sell books? How do you build an audience online? How do you actually do this stuff and make money? And that's when I turned to, I think some people call the technical term leveraging other people's audiences. So like podcast interviews, guest posting back then. And that's primarily, I did 80 guest posts in 2012 and got on some of the biggest bloggers that were out in the time. And then after that, it helped me build my audience, built an email list of like 10,000 people, leveraging other people's audiences. And in 2014, I'm like, I want to take this to the next level, which is when I saw publications like Entrepreneur and Inc. and Forbes and whatnot, and said, why couldn't I just pitch them? I mean, like the worst they could say is no, right? So without knowing any strategy and nobody teaching me, I just sent off some pitches like I always did. Some got no's, some got yes. I got into Entrepreneur in 2014, was one of the first 50 contributors there. Right when they started their program, where they were asking us to write like 3 times a week because they didn't have any contributors. And then from there, just leapfrogged. Now today, of course, I've been published in over 80 publications and magazine. I've written 6 million words online since then. I have edited probably just as much as an editor, and used large publications to not only build up the B2C side of our business, which is you guys right here, but also the corporate side of our business. And we've been able to book 79 corporate consulting gigs just through that exposure and that social proof.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
And so you're an OG pretty much. You're just
I feel like an OG.
okay. So
Definitely.
a lot of the people listening are podcasters, and people who
Oh,
are
wait. Now let me put this in perspective for you. I did forget something here, buddy.
okay.
So I co-authored a book with Jared Easley, who is the co-founder of
Yes,
Podcast Movement.
podcast movement. Yes.
And I used to co-host Starve the Doubts with him, and I've been in the podcasting space for a hot minute.
Oh, let's go. Okay, I didn't. Oh, there's some history there
There is some
for
history. And I used to
everybody.
have a podcast
And
too.
if people don't know, Jerry Easley, he founded podcast movement.
Co-founded, yeah. Him and Dan Franks and Gary and Mitch
Okay, and
co-founded Podcast
they're the biggest event for podcasters, I believe, right?
Movement. They are
And I
the
think they're doing
world's
online
largest.
events now. I was actually talking about them this morning with a client.
Yeah.
So that's
It
cool.
was back then, like attending the first few when they'd actually started it on Kickstarter and they crowdfunded it, and the first few were awesome. And then last year I went in Orlando because I live in Florida, and to see what it changed from then to now, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was probably much more nerdy back then.
It was very nerdy.
It wasn't like had nothing to do with marketing probably, or maybe a little
Yeah.
bit.
Like people would be listening to the interview and be like, what kind of a microphone is he using? Like,
I mean, it still happens though. That's
yeah.
the sad part. But I guess everyone starts from somewhere.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm curious, like related to podcasters, like what would you think that you see the biggest opportunities being, kind of leveraging some of the stuff to work with publications to like help grow their podcast, or is it also business related? Does it always have to be podcast related, or?
So here's the thing. You go into any podcast Facebook group and you'll see no shortage of people like, hey, I just started a podcast. How do I get more listeners? How do I grow my
Number one
podcast?
question. Yeah.
And it's the same strategy every time. Be a guest on other people's podcasts. Post it on social media. Like it's the same like 4 or 5 tips. And we all know these tips. Here's what I'm saying, podcasters. You can get your podcast on a large publication, whether that is a mid-tier publication, like I'm a senior editor at the Goodman Project. I put out a call for submissions every Monday. Podcasters, as long as you wrap 300 words of text, so that what is 300 words? That's your show notes, right? Like as long as you send in the show notes with the embed code for the player, you can get that published on the Goodman Project. Goodman Project gets 3.5 million unique visitors every month. Now
Certain like
you
demo?
have.
Wait, now I'm curious. Now we're talking business. Or you have a
Now we're
certain
not.
demo?
He's like, I got to do this tomorrow.
No, I mean we have some like a lot of our clients actually, like we already write like 1,200, 1,500 words per episode, like SEO based around a keyword. So it would probably be
That's
like,
what we want.
oh, Yeah.
because it's got to
I
show
mean,
up in
if
the search, right?
what's the demo, dude? I'll send you some people ASAP. But
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'll send you my direct link where you can submit through me. Now,
Okay.
it just the caveat is it has to be about or for men. This is the
Yes.
Good Men Project. So you have to wrap your message around how is this message relevant to men?
Gotcha.
What men need to know about building a business, what men need to know about wellness, what men need to know about whatever your topic is. There's an angle that you
Yeah,
can hit.
we have the perfect one
Yeah.
I can think of.
So now that's one example. That's just, I won't say smaller, but that's a mid-sized example. Now imagine if you can do the same thing for Entrepreneur or Business Insider or Inc. All of these large publications are multimedia platforms now. We live in a multimedia world. Videos, audios, it's not just written articles anymore. If you look at somebody like Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness, which I would guess a few people have heard of, the way that he initially built his audience was he got a contributor count at Entrepreneur Inc., Forbes, all the big publications, and all he did was repurpose his show notes, embed the player on there, and he just rack up the listens. Because Entrepreneur, for example, gets 70 million unique visitors. That's not to say every time you publish, 70 million people are going to see it, right? Like that's the math doesn't work out that way. But I promise you it's going to be millions. And out of those millions that have the opportunity to see it, a few of them are going to hit play, a few of them are going to hit subscribe. And that's initially how Lewis Howes built his audience. He leveraged large publications.
Yeah, actually, I think I met the guy at Podfest who did the documentary or something for that he sold the rights to Entrepreneur, or I think it was a series or documentary that involved him and like some other people. I don't know what it was, the specifics. But he
Yeah,
said
I think I saw something about that.
Entrepreneur bought the license rights to it. Like they made it for free for them, just for free content, and then ended up buying the
Yeah,
rights. Yeah, that is true. So like when you think about publications, it's not just written. You know, it could include media as well.
it can. All you need is the text for SEO purposes, right? It can't just be the player or it can't just be the video. You need some text so that it can show up in search and to like intro what this is going to be about. And then you have the opportunity to embed your player.
Gotcha. I'm just curious, like, how do these publications get traffic? Is it just from like organic, or do they like email a lot, or is it just
They have big email lists. They've been in the game longer than we've been in the game. So all of us
yeah?
OGs. They also do ads. They also get a lot of search, and their target demographic is not online marketers or internet business people, right? When
Everyday
you go to
folk.
your doctor's office or lawyer's office or whatever, what do you see there in the waiting room? Like it's like Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur, and that's who their target demographic is. It's not just people online, it's also organizations, corporations, executives. So they have a really wide range of audience that taps beyond this space.
Gotcha. So now that we know it's awesome, um, like what are some of the first steps people can do to start kind of taking advantage of this? What would you recommend? I know you have your own programs and such, but like what are some things people can do to either know it's right or get the ball rolling, etc.?
So this one is going to be the first step is one that usually disqualifies a lot of people, and that is your website. I can't tell you how many people I talk to online that are like, "Oh, I don't really use my website for business," or "I don't really,
They
get
usually use social media profiles as a trend, right?
yeah, social media or ClickFunnels or Kajabi or whatever." That's how they built their sites. And here's the thing: publications aren't just looking for somebody that has great content. A lot of people have great content. They want to know that the person's an established expert in what they talk about. A lot of people say they're an established expert. We see that all day long. People screaming how good they are, right? But the way that you demonstrate your expertise is through your content and the way that your home base is professionally laid out. Your home base on the internet is your website. So for people that want to get in, the very first place a large publication editor is going to look is they're going to go look at your website. What does it say is your area of expertise? Not what your podcast is, because they don't want your podcast. They want what the podcast teaches.
The
So
message
the
is the important
message,
thing, the
right?
story.
And if it's all about you, like I go to the site and it's like Kimanzi.com and it's all about Kimanzi and all the stuff about Kimanzi, there's no value there. There's no value proposition. Instead, what you lead with is I'm going to teach you digital marketing. I'm going to teach you wellness. I'm going to teach you personal development. And then, oh yeah, by the way, my name is Kimanzi and this is why I do it. So it's having a website that has clear expertise that's not branded in an internet marketing sort of way. So online, everybody wants to be different. And I get it. You want to niche, right? But niching in the way that it's taught online is not a great way to niche. Niching could mean that you are only working with real estate agents, or you're only working with lawyers, or whatever. That's a way to niche. But when you do social media marketing and then you say you're the social influence strategist, you've made yourself sound different, but then nobody understands what you do. And if you have to explain it, you've already lost me. When I land on that site and it doesn't say something that I understand, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to invest my time or my email address or my resource to figure out what this is.
Yeah.
So it has to be clear. It has to have all the pages they would be looking for: a home page, about page, a content page, and then if you have some services, some services. But even just with those three pages of a home page, about page, and a content page, you would have what you need to start going after a lot of publications.
That's good advice because I think it's a growing trend. A lot of people who start in podcasts now, they don't understand websites, or it's not. I mean, to some degree, it's true. Like it won't really affect their podcast, but if they want to go this route, like getting publications and going bigger, they need that like established brand.
Well, let me challenge you. If you had just the podcast or just on social media or just a funnel or whatever, and you were doing decently, how much better would you be if you had an established home base where people started finding you through search,
Yeah,
started finding you
a
through all
blog
that?
post. Yeah,
I mean,
we do it. No, we do it. All of our clients, we do
yeah,
it. I'm saying the new podcaster doesn't value it because they
you
don't.
should value a new
They,
podcaster.
yes, you should.
Yeah, and you should pay to have it done. An investment into that is an investment that pays dividends for your business.
Gotcha. Do you hear drilling by the way, or no?
No.
Okay, they're installing tile floors here, dude. It's just rattling.
Well,
It's like in a cement building, so it just goes throughout. It's so
I
annoying.
think your mic's filtering
Yeah,
some of
this
that.
one's good. Like if I move away, like you can't hear what I'm saying. Like it's a pretty good mic. But we got some people here. If you guys are live, give me hashtag live. If you have any questions, what's up, Nate? If you have any questions for Kimanzi about publications or leveraging it, drop them below. We'll ask him here live. So all right, that's the first step. Having a
That's
good
the first step.
website. What else is there?
Then it's social proof. So it's the things that show you're actually an expert in what you talk about. So that could be getting on
Testimonials.
a few other podcasts and talking about your topic. But more so, it's getting, if you want to go after publications, it's getting your content in places that they know and understand. So people turn to Medium, and Medium could work. But then there's Medium's kind of cousin, which is Thrive Global, which was started by Arnie Huffington. But then there's a smattering of places like lifehack.org or Business and Community, Influensive, Addicted to Success, She Owns It, Leaders in Health, like, and on the list can go. There's a lot of these mid-tier publications that they don't require you to have been published anywhere else. They want to know what kind of value you're going to bring to their audience, and you would start getting your content published on those places so that when you went to the big place, you actually had something to show them. Because the bigger publications don't want to be first.
Gotcha. Okay, that's I didn't know that's how it worked. But I'm sure there's still like a approval process for those platforms, right?
They're
You
still
mentioned.
approval. They want to know. They're not. It's not just an automatic in. They want to know how your message is going to fit with their audience and add. It's just like anything else. How are you going to add value to their audience? The
Yeah.
reason why most people get rejected from a publication, a mid-tier site, or any opportunity in general, is because they're leading with all about them. This is who I
Not
am.
the
This is
topic.
what
Yeah.
I've done. Yeah, like this is. I'm so great, and you may be great. You may be wonderful. But at the end of the day, people want to know what's in it for them. So if you lead with value, you're going to get a much better approach.
Gotcha. What's the normal like? If people do want to go that route, like, what's the normal commitment you see these publications needing for you to be like a writer?
So for these mid-tier sites, there's going to be no, like, you're not going to have any ongoing commitment. You don't have to contribute any certain times a month. It's at will. So
Do you pay
really,
them, or like what's the relationship like?
no, you don't. This is all free. You don't pay anybody here. It's just you pitching content, them seeing value in that content, and then putting it in front of their audience. And when I say traffic, like a place like Mind Body Green, mid-tier site, you don't have to have it written anywhere, but they get 12 million unique visitors a month. So it's not just a stepping stone. It's actually places that could build your email list, get you more listens to your podcast, get you clients.
That's huge. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what's the etiquette? Like, do you like sprinkle in your stuff if you are a writer?
No.
Like ever?
No, the etiquette, because especially not when you're new. Like I'm a VIP contributor at Entrepreneur. As I told you, I got in there since 2014. If you go to entrepreneur.com right now and look on the homepage, I'm on the homepage as a featured contributor. So if I wanted to write about whatever, I could write about whatever, but that's because I've established that.
It's because
Now,
you're a model, of course, too.
yeah, if you're new, you're not getting away with any of that. It's just not going to happen. So what you do is you wow them with the value of the content, and then anything you want to promote happens in the bio. So your book, your podcast, whatever, you get hot links right there in the bio. People get value from it. They can click on those links in your bio.
Nice. Content marketing strategist. Nice.
Yeah, that's
So what do
me.
you usually write about?
Content marketing. So I write about specifically organizations, how organizations and entrepreneurs can use their content to build their audience and increase sales.
What was you think your best piece of the year so far, or your favorite?
I probably think it's that one on pro athletes.
I see.
I
Okay,
thought,
yeah.
yeah, I thought it was really good because I was talking about how pro athletes are going beyond just playing the sport, and they're actually creating an asset from themselves that makes them more valuable in contract negotiations. Because Michael Pittman Jr., who I talked about there, I'd never heard of the dude at USC, but I found his vlog and I watched his vlog.
I see that
Now,
a lot, even with like
yeah,
like minor league players, like
yeah,
getting popularity.
and now people are buying their jerseys. They're attending their events. They want to know what's going on. Is that not valuable to the organization? It is. So it
And it's
increases their
I think
value.
it's valuable to the person as well, or it's more kind of distributed equally because it's happening like with NCAA, how there's a lot of backlash because they're monetizing so much, but the players don't get paid anything. And I forget there was one player who got paid like $1 million or something by like I think a shoe company, Nike or
Yeah. Was
Adidas.
it Zion Williamson?
No, another one.
Okay.
Like he's not even in the NBA draft yet, but he got paid for an internship
Mm.
for the company. So they're probably just like grooming him. I don't know. But there's like other routes now for people in the sports. That's interesting. I like that a lot. Okay, so website, social proof, having
Yep.
content, obviously. Which if you guys are making a podcast, hopefully you have good content. Um, what else?
And then it's time to start thinking about what publications make sense for your message. Now, the approach most people take is I want to get in everywhere. And you want to hold your brakes because a place like entrepreneur.com, for example, you have to post,
And it all has to
depending,
be unique, right? You can't
yeah,
be writing stuff in twice.
no, this is what you can't do. You can't write an article and then say, "Ooh, where can I send this? What publications have fit?" Because me or a large publication editor knows if you didn't write something specifically for our publication in our style. So if you're shopping it around, you can forget about that. It has to be unique, and then every pitch is always going to be original. You're not sending them repurposed content because for them, large publications, they all have content sharing partnerships. So when you get an article published on Entrepreneur, for example, they send that same article to Fox, NBC, CBS, Time.com, Business Insider, and like 30 other places. And it gets reposted because they have content. Now, to get reposted, it has to be original. So they can't repost something
And
that's
they like source it. Like if they're talking about something, they'll link back to you, which obviously helps, right?
they'll actually put the full article. So like my entrepreneur articles, they'll put all my full entrepreneur articles on Fox, on NBC, on really big places. They put them on there, and then just think of the link juice from that as far as
Gotcha.
SEO goes. So it has to be original. And then when you're looking at the publications, what makes sense for your message? Not everyone is going to fit. Don't do things like shady things like paying somebody to get you a sponsored post or something like that. Because here's the thing. As a contributor, it's illegal for contributors to take money for mentions, links, and sponsored posts. And the publication always finds out. We were just talking about how 300 people got kicked out of
Oh,
Inc.
that's why. Okay, I didn't know that
That's
was
why.
illegal.
Yeah, that's why. You can't take money to write about people. So if that's found out, which it is, because people think nobody's going to find out. People talk. Like who can keep a secret? Like people can talk. If they're doing it for you, they're doing it for somebody else. It gets out, then everybody gets blackballed, including you. So you don't want to be a part of that. So definitely don't do that. And then also don't pay to have articles on there too. The thing is that you can get published.
Meaning like pay someone to write the article for you,
You
or
can pay somebody to write the article for you. You can hire a ghostwriter,
okay.
but you can't pay them to place it for you. That's different.
Oh, so you have. What do you mean by that?
I
Like,
mean,
so,
if somebody is already, let's say they're a contributor on a publication, and then you pay them to publish one of your articles, that
oh, it
is
has to
illegal.
be under your name, pretty
It
much.
has to be your name, your pitch, and all that. Now, if you paid somebody that could actually write pitches for you, that's a different story. What we're just
Is that
saying,
common?
sure, people do that all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a done for you service where high level clients are like, look, this is a lot of work. I don't want to do this. Can you create the pitches for me? And we create the pitches for them. Yeah,
Nice.
but it's
Um,
coming from them, not from us.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so what publications? How do you kind of determine? You just use Google search for it?
You know, you determine by your message. If you have a relationship type podcast, for example, and a relationship type message, maybe it won't make sense for some of these publications,
Well,
or
I meant
maybe
like searching them, like finding them. Knowing where
yeah.
they are.
So it's easy to find a list of like the top publications, and we can name them: your Entrepreneurs, Business Insider, Forbes, Fast Company, Time, Success, all of the big ones that you would know. And then there's of course the offshoot ones of like Men's Health or Women's Health or Ask Men, things that make sense for your
And
message.
we can assume that each one of those websites has like a or like a place of the website you go to kind of apply or something.
No, what you're looking for is when you are going after a large publication, you're looking to pitch an editor. And the type of editors you're looking
Like
for
a
either
senior
has
editor.
a title of contributions editor or digital editor. That's normally the title that they go by. That's the person that handles contributors, which is somebody who's not on staff, which is what you would be. And then it's a matter of not sending them a LinkedIn message, not sending them a Facebook message, not doing any of that. You would actually email them a pitch.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Which is what you do.
exactly.
Okay. So, do you feel like there's anything else we should cover in regards to publications? Because I also want to talk about the
Publication.
consulting, but
Yeah, publications are a great opportunity because not only could they put your podcast, your content in front
your
of millions
brand.
of people,
Yeah.
but then there's also the idea of revenue behind it because all the large publications like Inc., Forbes, Entrepreneur, Business Insider, Fast Company, they all pay for content from contributors. And when I say pay for content, they're paying you based off of page views. How many times it gets viewed, they will pay you. And clients that are in there generate anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000 a month from their large publication articles.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, because of the readership, and because they already have the audience, and because you can rack up the page views pretty quickly.
They're just like from ads, I'm assuming.
Uh,
That's the revenue.
no, all these publications already have their built-in audience, and then they also have things that grow in through search. So when you publish an article, and as people keep viewing it, it's not unique page views; it's any page views. You then generate more revenue. And
Nice.
then if you
Cool.
want to do things like pay for ads or post them in your Facebook group or talk about them on the podcast and link to other places, every time somebody clicks on that link, you're getting paid.
Does that end up being profitable? Like,
Yes,
let's go. Okay.
that's all
Got
some people do.
some ninja tricks here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, I want to get into the consulting piece because I think that's pretty unique to what you do also. And that's obviously a lucrative opportunity for some people who have never considered it. It might be more unique, I think, to certain business models and what you do. But, corporate consulting, right? That's what you do a lot, correct?
Yes,
Is that still like a big focus of what you do?
it's still a focus. Yeah.
Okay. Can you
And
explain kind of?
it's still a focus in the day and age. Now, corporate consulting looks different in the fact that you're not going to a company, right? Like nobody's really
Yeah,
going
it's all
anywhere.
Zoom, right?
Yeah, at this point. But that's also good because they need much more content. So, like, we do content marketing and teach companies content. You do podcasting, right? Like, and you might teach people something on that podcast, or you might teach people how to podcast, right? Like Daxi, for example. So, like you, for example, if you wanted to teach corporations how to create a podcast, or here's the flip side of this, how to use a podcast for internal communications, which is a hot corporate topic, you can do that. If you taught people relationships or wellness or personal development, that as a topic, that is something that you can do within corporations. And again, all the training's done virtually, and it's generally training like this, where you're training them on something that you do.
Yeah, one of my clients actually, Christy Code Red, she's big in fitness. She just booked a corporate gig for their health because apparently they have like health budgets for HR, and it's more just like for wellness, and it's more just weight loss and a lot of physical stuff she does with everybody in the companies. So there's and that's a 7-figure deal. Like,
I believe it.
yeah. So that I think it's a huge opportunity. So what would you like? What does that look like? You know?
A little bit of the same process. So here's the thing, online, and this is what delusions people, if you want to generate revenue online, you just need a good offer. You have a good offer, you put it on social media, you put it on a podcast
People
or
say yes.
whatever, and
Yeah.
you get people to come back and DM you, and you can make a sale. It doesn't work that way with large publication editors or corporate decision makers. Corporate decision makers not getting on a quick call with you. They're not opting into your funnel. They probably aren't going to listen to your podcast. Like, they just don't have the time to do that. So they make their decision on whether or not they want to talk to you based off of what they see on your website and how your expertise is demonstrated. So they will go through and look at your website, look at
We
every
initiate.
single page. And if it's not clear, like what you do and how it's a pain point for them. So if you have a website that says, I help entrepreneurs scale to 6 or 7 figures, corporations like, we just made that like in the last 3 minutes. Like, like
Yeah.
you know,
And we're not
what,
an entrepreneur. We're a company.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
a
you have
concept.
to have a message. And you know what? Sometimes you have to separate the message. Like, do I have access to the screen share here?
Yeah, yeah. You can go for it.
All right. So I want to show you what we actually had to do
Cool,
in
cool.
our business.
Oh,
So
my screen is still half black. I
so
gotta restart my computer here.
I will show you. All right, tell me if you see my website.
Right there. Boom.
All right, so this is my website, which you guys would come to learn about publications,
If you're on the
content marketing,
podcast, what's the website?
kconstable.com.
Boom. Okay.
Now, I would never send a company here, right? Because this is not optimized for a company. Instead, I would send them to our agency website, which is rgicai.com. And this is our full agency website where we teach companies content marketing. You see the
Have the social
difference,
proof. Yeah.
yeah, in feel between these two platforms, how they feel different.
Yeah. One's more for personal brand. The other
Yeah.
is more for focused for definitely credibility. I know for sure, like when it comes to corporate companies, they pay for, uh, you know, certainty. Like, hey,
They
if
do.
I pay this, am I going to get that thing? You know?
Yeah, and they want established expert because they're not just thinking about decision like, you can hire me for yourself, but they're thinking about decision that affects their employees, and they're also
Yeah.
thinking about liability.
They got bosses and like they don't want to get fired. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of considerations there. So if they can't see it demonstrated like very clearly, you're not even going to get a response.
How is that space like in 2020 right now with everything happening? Obviously, we're in COVID. Um, I think there's probably a lot of companies going bankrupt right now, right? Big companies
There's a
or
lot of
on the work.
there's some companies, big companies going breakup. There's a lot of local businesses that are obviously not
Yeah,
coming
I
back.
actually two of my clients. One is yoga studios, other gyms. Like projected, like 50% of yoga studios are gonna go close doors. Like a lot of the fitness industry is rough right now.
And then there's a lot of big organizations that are thriving despite this, right? Like, so it's a crapshoot. It really depends on your topic and what you teach. But the reality is there's companies that are doing incredibly well now and bringing in people all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Like
there's definitely like
client.
the weird ends of the spectrum, and other companies have to pivot if they don't have a good model.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think this is the harder go. I could sit here and paint you a picture and tell you all kinds of things, but like, I believe in keeping it real. This is not going to be for most people
Yeah,
because if you have a business that's catered to individual customers, this is a lot of work to get this set up, and then it's a lot of work to prospect, and then these are longer sales cycles, anywhere from 4 to 8 months. This isn't one call close sort of situations.
Yes, that is what I heard. So my partner, actually, Ryan, comes from the corporate world. He worked at Solvay. They're a big like manufacturing for like just plastics and like airplane seats and shit, like billion-dollar company. And he would tell me like 6 months, average sales cycle or longer. Like they would like wait, like they would talk in terms of budgets. Like yeah, yeah, and 3 quarters from now, like we could fit that in probably. Like, but also
That's,
they need to spend budgets. So like they
they
have
do.
money to throw. Like they're looking for ways to spend. So
Yeah, if you knew the end of a budget cycle for a company when they're trying to get rid of those dollars, yeah, you could probably rack up some training when they're like, I got to get this on the books. But that's not public information.
gotcha. So like who would be a good fit for that type of like you know offering?
If, if you had a message that translated to both worlds, so it's not just specific. So if it was wellness, like let's say high performance is a good example. You teach wellness, but you messages as high performance. You teach
Or
entrepreneurs.
leadership is, I think, is a very universal thing, right? In
Yeah,
companies.
you teach entrepreneurs how to maximize what they do, and then you can teach that to executives and teams. That's a message that translates to both worlds. If you teach digital marketing, that's a message that translates to both worlds. If you teach podcasting, that's a message that translates to both worlds. So if you have the message that can go on both sides of the aisle, then you would just need to position your website to really demonstrate your expertise and really
Gotcha.
focus on here's the pain point, here's what I do, here's some information on it.
Okay, cool, cool. For some reason, all I see right now is dollar signs in my eyes. Um, I'm kind of blinded right now. Okay, so like,
The
what?
publications are a quicker route to those dollar signs than the
Yes,
companies
yes, that's
are.
true. Or it's a more universal route, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so what are like some of the, I guess, like biggest mistakes people make thinking about the consulting side? Like if they're getting into it and starting that process, do you think people are making and trying to like get gigs or etc.?
I think it's like a lack of patience because then they'll send a pitch and then they'll send a follow up like too quickly, and it's a busy person, and they're like, "Well, this person's pushy. I'm not. I'm done."
It
Like
has
they'll
to be
just,
very personalized, I'm sure, right?
yeah, and it's you have to. It just takes time, so you have to be very patient. And then also in follow up, like internet marketing follow up is like, "Hey, I just want to check in and see what you thought about that." Like it's always value based. Like, hey, here's a new article on digital marketing. Here's a new article on podcasting. Here's a piece of value that I think could help you. And most people don't understand value based follow up. So I think that's a tactical error.
Yes.
Then it's continuing to demonstrate your expertise. So you might know something, you might be good at something, but then I find like a lot of people get complacent. Like they get to a level, then all they do is teach that thing, and they don't continue to rise. Right? They don't continue to go after more publications, become more of a relationship expert, do those things. They just get complacent and they don't go to the next level and keep building their social proof.
Gotcha. Okay. What are I'm curious. You've worked with a lot of people. You're obviously an OG in the space, and you've done a lot. Like, what are some of like some cool case studies or results you've seen or done with like some people or companies, like whether it's consulting or publications that you're like that would like wow people.
Yeah, I mean, we've helped probably over 2,000 people get published at this point. I could think of a couple cool people. Like there's a woman named Sonia Thompson. Her website's soniathompson.com. She helps businesses like with diversity-based marketing. You can see her on Inc. and Entrepreneur and Success and any publication you can name. She's been on. And she took what we taught her. She built the foundation, got into these publications, and leveraged it into some pretty cool six-figure corporate consulting contracts with some pharmaceutical companies, and she continues to rock it. Now I'll tell you, it's work. Just
Like
like this
anything, yeah.
isn't one call close. This isn't throw up a funnel and get people hitting that buy button. This is digging deep,
New
writing
process.
templates, putting out the content, and doing the work.
I love it.
Julian Hayes is also another one. Julian Hayes II. Again, he's been published anywhere you could name. He's booked some great corporate deals, and he just continues to kill it in that space.
Julian Hayes. I feel like I've heard of. Is he in the
The second.
NFL?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Got. Is he? What does he do now?
He teaches wellness. He teaches corporate
Oh,
wellness.
okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
he's a corporate wellness group.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
I've noticed a trend. A lot of athletes getting into like the venture capital space
yeah,
because they probably have so much money. They're like, we gotta use it.
yeah. There
Basketball players.
when your body can only take you so far at that level, you might get hurt or something would happen, and boom. So yeah, they're trying something different.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
and then looking at our list of mutual friends, there's quite a few of our mutual friends that are like students of ours in our program and that have gotten published.
Name drop.
So let me look at some Casanova
Sometimes you have
Brooks.
friends on Facebook, you don't know who they are. So
Casanova Brooks.
Casanova's a buddy of mine. Yeah, I actually
Yeah,
helped him start his podcast.
yeah. So
I
we've
was one of
been,
his first guests, actually.
yeah, he's a really
He
good
has
dude.
such a good charisma, dude. Like he kind of reminds me of Kevin Hart. Like how he can just be like a ball of energy, like just turn on. Like,
Daniel Vega is one of ours.
oh yes, yeah, he's in e-commerce or
Yep.
something. Yeah,
Ernest Epps is one of ours.
I know Ernest. He was actually one of my. I used to do e-commerce like 3 or 4 years ago. That was my first kind of side hustle. And I was like in Thailand, and he was one of my first like mentors.
Arnie Gishke, of course.
Arnie, homie.
Yep. Jared, Jody Mayberry.
All right. Well, I'm probably gonna
Yeah,
have
I
to take
could
you
go
up.
down this list and I could name drop a whole bunch of people
Yeah,
that we've helped.
I remember I messaged you a long time ago, like interested, but there was something going on in my life. But like I'm super interested now. But I have rapid fire. I have rapid fire, by the way. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorite parts. Okay, cool. So just quick questions, quick answers.
let's do it.
Let's do it. So who's your biggest mentor, and what's the number one thing he taught you?
I'd say probably my biggest mentor is my grandfather. And he got me into the love of books and writing when I was really young. He would always buy us a book for our birthday, and I didn't appreciate it then, but it set me on this journey.
It looks like it's helped you a lot.
Yeah.
What's your spirit animal?
Uh, Probably the lion. I
Wow, I
can
can see
relate
that. Are you
to
Leo?
it more, and yeah.
You're Leo?
No, I'm not a Leo. I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay, gotcha.
December. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you've seen this, the YouTube channel with this guy who like lives with a pride of lions.
I've seen it.
It's badass. Like he looks like a
Yeah.
lion. He has like the blonde hair and
And there's a few people that do that. And I'm always like, man, those are like essentially they're wild beasts. And I've seen videos of them turning.
yeah. No. Like they have to grow up with them. Like you can't just
Yeah.
like become friends with lions. They have to know you. Um, so okay. So what's something that you used to believe 3 to 5 years ago that you no longer believe today?
That you have to connect with an influencer, somebody at the top of the industry, and get that person to kind of vouch for you and shout you out if you want to blow up and build your audience and create success online.
Why don't you believe that?
Because you can do it all on your own. The reality is
From the
you're
ground
never
up?
going to break through all the noise. Those people have people hitting them up all the time. And more than anything, them giving you a shout out, unless it was Oprah putting you in the Oprah book club or whatever, it's not really going to be the same effect. The reality is if you come up on your own, demonstrate the value, you can get on one publication, go post that you got an entrepreneur or Inga Forbes. Watch how your audience blows up just by saying that.
Boom. Okay. I love the knowledge bombs you're dropping. Not a lot of people talk about this. So what's something interesting about you that most people don't know?
I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. Yeah. Those that know me know that. Your audience wouldn't know that, but I was speaking at a conference in Las Vegas, and I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I flew to this conference in Las Vegas, and I made a side trip to the conference to Louisville, Kentucky, to watch Taylor Swift in 1989 concert. And I went there. I had my face painted. I had 1989. I was wearing like a sequenced Taylor Swift shirt that I had made. And I was there in the front row near two 15-year-old girls, and I was crying louder than they were.
Please tell me you have a picture of that.
I do have a picture of
Okay,
that.
so that's gonna go on the episode graphic, by the way. And that's what that'd be the YouTube thumbnail. So
Yeah,
just heads
I was sending
up. That's awesome. Yeah, I really want to see that now.
Yeah.
You might hate me if I tell you I don't even know any Taylor Swift songs.
Oh, man.
Um,
You should. She's a great songwriter.
yeah, I know her lyrics, and she's like, I know she does a lot for her fans, or she's very giving to her
She's
community,
very giving.
which is cool.
And it's
Um,
deep. I like all singer-songwriters. I like people that write their own stuff and just are real.
Yeah, cool. What's your number one book of all time? Since you're a reader writer, like,
You can't ask an author what is the number one book of all
or
time.
what has changed your life the most? Then how about that?
So I'd probably say a couple books. There was a book called The Charm School. It's actually a fiction book, and it was about Russian KGB agents that were trained by American POWs that the KGB got from Vietnam. They brought them to a place called the Charm School to train these Russian agents how to be Americans and infiltrate America. And like the storyline was so good. And then at the
It's
end,
not a true story.
it's not a true. Well, I don't know if
Okay.
it's a true story, but then at the end, when the government was, the CIA was involved, they said that they were going to go put some sleep gas on the charm school to save all the American POWs and bring them home. And when they took the helicopter and released, yeah, it was actually nerve agent, and they killed everybody, including the Americans. And as like a 10-year-old boy, like my mind was like, you just killed him, like it was blown, and that forever changed my perspective on books. And then probably the other book is a book called 48 Days to the Work You Love, because that book just showed me that I can do more than being in a job that I hated, in a life that I didn't want to live. Like I could actually do something about it.
Nice. Yeah, I think the book for me like that's similar to that kind of had my mind like that was Tim Ferriss, 4 Hour Work Week.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
him.
that's what really got me
Tomorrow Work
thinking.
Week
Like
definitely for the whole online stuff and
digital
doing all
nomad.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
a,
think that the reason why is because it was all his examples. Like
yes.
or most of it was his. Like he had other things, but it was like this is what I did, and I was like,
Well,
this is awesome.
and for me, I felt like you can read that book and you believed everything he said. Like you're like,
It's
I
true.
believe you actually do that. Like I believe it.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Well, if anyone wants to read the Charm School now, they got spoiled. So
Just
just so you
whatever.
know, you didn't
It's a
do a
great book.
spoiler. Next time, do a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But
Spoiler alert. It's from like the 80s. It's an old school book.
okay, cool, cool. And what? Last question. What's the number one thing you want to achieve in life?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, um, uh, there's a lot of things that I want to achieve, but it's mainly just continue to make an impact through my content. Like there's places I want to get published. Like I want to get published in the New York Times, have an article there. That's something I promised my grandfather I'd do before he died. I want to write 10 books, so I got 6 more to go. I want to continue to impact millions. So it's mainly just use my content and my voice to help as many people as I can.
How do you? I'm curious. Like, how do you think you impact people with your content?
I personally think that the content that I put out there is very tactical. Like, I don't think a lot of people online put out content that's like, here's companies that are looking for opportunities. Here's who you
I've
contact.
noticed
Here's how
that.
much you
Like
charge.
everything you put on
Here's
Facebook, I'm like, this guy's giving away the gold.
giving away the gold. Here's publications, bitch. Here's 30 publications that will pay you for
You've probably
content.
made people a lot of money just from free content.
I've made people a lot of money. I've gotten people into a lot of publications. I got a few shout outs along the way, and then people that sent it to me privately. And at the end of the day, I could put out all the good stuff because I have so much more behind the paywall.
Yeah, and one I would say like people listening, like one of the biggest insecurities because we work with a lot of like bigger clients, and one of the things like they don't want to reveal too much or they don't want to like share too much. It's just like a mindset thing. But like they don't understand like even if you tell everybody everything you know, like not everyone will do it, but they'll
Very
still
few percentage will do it.
yeah, and but that will impact them and like in their mind they'll like trust you and they'll be like, oh, this person's actually like sharing everything and they'll be more loyal, you know, is what
And,
I've
and, and
noticed.
I would say that like the best way to sell somebody is to demonstrate you know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
look at this video podcast interview, and we're talking here right now. We're two professionals, right? We're demonstrating we know what we talk about. We do live coaching sessions and teardown on Facebook Live because we know what we're talking about. And when you put out your podcast or an article in a publication or a video, you demonstrating your expertise, that does all the selling for you. Fancy copy is great and it will definitely convert some people. But in the longer term, to get the better consumers, the higher consumers, when you demonstrate you know what you're talking about through your content, that's when you're going to get to the good stuff.
Boom. I love it, man. This is actually one of my favorite interviews in a while just because of I feel inspired now
Good.
to,
I'm glad you
to
took something
to
away
do
from it.
something. Yeah. So yeah, so at this part of the interview you can kind of shout out whatever you want, wherever you want people to follow you, join your programs, etc. Feel free.
Yeah, head to kconstable.com. That's KCONSTABLE.com. There's a free guide waiting for you there that teaches you how to get published and paid through large publications. You'll see that it's very practical. It has publications listed right there to contact that you can pitch and get paid from. And people have used that free guide to make thousands of dollars. And then also we have a program called the Large Publications Masterclass, which covers everything we talked about here, how to get into the big publications, and then how to book corporate content creation. That's actually open right now, depending on when this goes live, until July 29th. You can find that at largepubs.com, largepubs.com. It's a great program.
How how often do you have that open? Just because this might
We
be
do it
after the
6 times
29th.
a year. 6 times a year. So if you catch us on any one of the times we do this 6 times a year, which you can figure is going to be every other month ish, once you join once, you get to take the training every time we do the program. So every time we do it live, every time there's a change, like entrepreneur.com just updated their contributor program, started over. We always go in there and tell our students, this is what's going on. This is how you need to adjust. So once you join once, you get lifetime access, and that's at largepubs.com, and it's a great program.
Gotcha. I'm curious, how many people who join your program, they end up using it as a business model, like the information?
I would say like
Do a
a
lot of
very small percentage. I
small
can only think
percentage?
of a handful of
Most
people.
people are just doing it for themselves.
Yeah, because it's what we do is it's not easy getting people. We're not talking about featured or mentioned or PR. We're talking about getting them contributor accounts where they can publish their own content. That's not easy to do. So even though somebody might take the course and see how to do it, they might not be able to do it for themselves because they're not putting all the pieces in place, and then they're definitely not going to be able to teach somebody else how to do it. So it's only a very small percentage of people.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I appreciate you hopping on, man. That was tremendous value. If you guys got some value, drop it below. And any last words you want to say before we hop off here?
No, we live in a time where 4 billion people use the internet every day. Like there's never been a better time to access potential customers to get your message out there. But you got to stand above the noise because everywhere you look, somebody's inboxing your ideal client. They're sending them a Facebook ad. They're inundating them with messages. How you stand out is when you increase your brand credibility and you have social proof that everybody understands. Amazon #1 is best, is great. Forbes, Coaches Council, and kind of some of these things that we see and that we all know that are going on in our industry, those might get you a few clients. But at the end of the day, when people can see you in the bigger publications or the bigger opportunities or the companies, that's going to be the brand credibility that helps you stand out from everybody else. And that's what's going to get you to the next level.
Gotcha. It's part of it too. Like, when someone sees you on like Forbes or something, they automatically like just in their head, they're like, oh, it just makes they trust you more, and it makes like, is there an incentive for them to have other people from other big art, like the backlinking and such, or?
Yeah, it's the trust factor, right? Like you might not know, let's say I was HubSpot content marketing certified. You might know what that is, you might not. But if you can go read my article on Inc., you definitely are going to know what that is. They trust the publications, they know them, they understand the significance of them. And then, like you said, for the purposes of SEO, when you have your content on there and people go and they Google you, and the first thing that pops up is Entrepreneur Inc., Forbes, it's not a
It's
random collection of
so
things.
it's like reputation, a lot of it.
It's reputation. Because what is the first thing somebody does when they think about working with somebody? They Google them. What's showing up for you in Google? If you went
And
and
that,
searched
yeah,
me,
yeah.
you
That's
would see my publications. You'd see my interview with Pat Flynn on Smart Passive Income when I was on a show. You would see some bigger things that you understand what they are.
I like that. That's probably been like my number one thing, reputation.
Yes.
Or people, I warn people of like, make sure your reputation is very important, because like, having the bad things said about you online can really f you up.
Well, and it's the difference between having to sell somebody and then your reputation selling you.
Yeah, people sell for you. It happens from I've grown just straight word of mouth. So cool, man. Well, I appreciate you being on, and till next time, we'll probably have to get you on a round two in the future.
Let's do it.
So, all right, buddy, I'm gonna end the broadcast. Peace out, everybody. And broadcast.